All right, well, we are just about to wrap the things up. We're in that last module regarding FINRA regulations on page 35. We've talked about the conduct rules, and we're on the Uniform Practice Code, how the members must practice among themselves. Just covered about the middle of the page of page 35, continuing commissions. And so we'll just pick it up from there. Before we go into the content, though, again, I want to thank you for the ability to provide these classes for you. Be sure to let folks know about it. We really appreciate that as much as anything. And also look for our sponsors. And everybody's in the same boat. Everybody wants you to succeed. I keep going back and back to that. It's not like we're trying to force anything on you. What we're trying to do is to introduce you to resources and introduce resources to you so that you can reach the common goal of your success. That's why we're doing this, is to participate in your success. And so tell other folks about it. We really do appreciate that. And thanks for watching. Like I say, tell somebody else, tell your training officer, tell the recruiter, tell the licensing officer. If you've got a central training department, tell them. Just spread the word for us, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and pick back up. And we just finished continuing commissions. Let's go ahead and look at identification and segregation of customer securities. This is the flip side of not commingling customer and broker-dealer securities. So you cannot commingle. What do you have to do? You do have to separate out the customer securities from the broker-dealer securities, and customer assets in general from the broker-dealer assets. So you have that segregation and identification. You have to have written authorization from the customer to lend securities. Now, I could go into the details of this, but it's a Series 6. If it was a Series 7, I'd do it. Okay? For your purposes, just know that broker-dealers can, under certain circumstances, lend out customer securities, but they have to have a written authorization to do so. Sharing an account by a registered rep, is it possible? Absolutely. But you've got to jump through certain hoops, okay? You have to have written approval of the customer prior to the account being opened up, written approval by the member, that's going to be your principal who signs off on it. Okay, and then gains and losses have to be proportionate to the financial interest of the registered rep in the account. Where you're going to see this is that typically somebody is coming into the business who is already a member of an investment club or some type of group like that. Okay, and so we'll look at the bylaws. The member will say, well, yeah, if you've got 2.79% investment, then you get 2.79% of gains, 2.79% of losses, and okay, because it's a pre-existing relationship, we'll go ahead and approve that. It's probably not going to happen if you try to join an investment club, okay? But you can do that as long as those checklists is checked off, okay? And then to open an account in another member firm, can you do that? Yes, but don't do anything in secret. Prior to opening the account, provide a written notice to your employing firm and to the accepting firm where you're opening the account. Both of them need to know. If your firm wants duplicate confirms and statements, then they can do so. Just request them. That's it. That's all it takes. Just say, I need duplicate confirms, duplicate statements on this. And then there's an exemption if mutual funds or variable annuities are the only that are purchased like directly from the issuer. There's just no room for abuse. You're going to be treated just like everybody else. All right. What do we want to avoid by having these regulations in place? I have actually worked at a broker-dealer firm one time. I came in one morning. All of our drug stocks were under review, all of them. And there was one guy who was the analyst for the drug companies. Brilliant guy, but he was absolutely street stupid. Okay? He opened an account, I think under even a false name, over at XYZ firm. He would buy call options on Merck and Pfizer, then he'd upgrade Merck and Pfizer. He'd buy put options on Bristol Myers Squibb, then he'd downgrade Bristol Myers. Oh my gosh, the guy threw away a huge career. stupid thing to do. Don't do anything like that. That's what these regulations are for, okay? You're smarter than that, so I'm not going to worry about you. All right, so maintenance of books and records. You have to maintain, we talked about this with regard to customer accounts, what you have to keep with regard to a customer account, so just a recap here. And then a customer's written complaint. Here's a guy that calls you up every day. How you expect it? 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, is this Dan? Yeah, this is Dan. He says, Dan, I rue the day that I ever started doing business with you, he says. Ah-da-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da, yada-da-da. The guy's griping, okay? He can gripe all he wants. It's no big deal. You just kind of smooth it over, you go down the road, you answer his problems, whatever. But the thing is, when he picks up a pen and a paper, he goes down, sits down, fires up Word, and he sends an email, whatever. If it's written, he stopped griping and he started complaining. What do? Take it straight to your principal. Straight to your principal, all right? At that point, it's out of your hands. But I can solve this. I can solve. He's been through the same thing he's talking about. I don't care. You take it straight to the principal. If it's in writing, like I say, he stopped griping. He started complaining. All written complaints have to be directed to the principal and kept on file. Okay? So that's just the way the world works. Members have to have a supervisory system with written provisions in place. Are we surprised at that? No, especially because one of the easiest ways for your firm to get in trouble is failure to supervise. FINRA they despise the failure to supervise. So that's what we're all about, is that we do that. So, who inspects whom with regard to inspections of offices? Okay. First of all, let's look at these and we'll look at the term. You have your member firm, which is there we go. So the member firm then has different offices. Wherever there is a principal, then that principal and that office is called the Office of Supervisory Jurisdiction. And although it says office, folks use it interchangeably with the principal, that he is the OSJ or she is the OSJ. That's fine, it's no big deal, okay? The thing is, you also have, and now this is kind of foreign in some environments, excuse me, but the best illustration of this is like with insurance, the insurance company model, where you've got independent offices where the guy or gal has a storefront location, but they're registered, okay? That's called a branch. A branch does not have a principal, so therefore a branch is not deemed an OSJ. In this case, the OSJ will inspect the branch. But who inspects the OSJ? The member firm inspects the OSJ. Okay, so you're always inspected by the next higher level of the food chain. All right. Over on page 36, the anti-reciprocal rule. This is dealing with, again, we're still in the Uniform Practice Code, so the way members practice between and among themselves in the industry, and we're talking about between broker-dealers and investment companies. Are broker-dealers going to have their reps sell certain investment company shares? Absolutely. Are investment companies going to use broker-dealers? Well, they got to. Which ones do we use? Let's base that on the relative merits of each. If you see something that says some kind of contingency, because you did this, if you do that, a certain time period you've done business, we want to reward you, we want to compensate, whoa, 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 that is a violation of the anti-reciprocal rule. Okay? So all of those, like I say, you're going to violate that anti-reciprocal rule, just deal with folks straight up. Well, you provide good execution services, therefore we're going to use your broker-dealer. It's at a reasonable price. We're going to use your broker-dealer. You guys have good performance, you have good customer service. We're going to have our reps sell your funds. That's okay. All right. And then continuing education requirements. The firm element, all registered employees have to go to the firm element. Firm element is annually and it's designed to address topics relevant to the registered rep's business. Okay, then the regulatory element, this is a highly likely topic for a question. You have to go to a testing center and you have to take the regulatory element CE. When I'm king of the forest, I'm going to make it just every 2 years and heck with it, okay? Or every 3 years, one or the other. I'm not king of the forest yet, so we got to put up with this junk. On your second anniversary, and every 3 years thereafter, so 2, 5, 8, 11, etc., you've got to do the regulatory CE within 120 days of that anniversary date. All right? So, yeah, now, like I say, it's very, very common that a regulatory element question, the frequency thereof, comes up. What happens if you don't take your regulatory element within the time period? Your license is suspended. Now let's go back to what we talked about earlier. Let's see, no discounts except as in the prospectus and member to member. That's a member, but you're suspended, so you're treated like a member of the general public. That means that you can't participate in commissions, you can't participate in discounts. That means you can't get paid. They cut to the chase scene. They cut off your paycheck. Bottom line, when you get that notice, your anniversary's coming up, right then, schedule your regulatory element CE. Otherwise, if you let those 120 days go, you're shut down until you take it. All right, so that's very important to do that. And then you also have an annual compliance review, which is not really CE, but basically all your registered persons dealing with the public have to attend. It can be like a webinar or even something that you can pull up later on off the internet, but you have to be able to send in questions and get responses, whether they're real time or delayed, but you will get to them within a day, something like that. But in any event, it has to be interactive to that degree. And that's our Uniform Practice Code. Let's roll on over now to the COP, the Code of Procedure. If there's been a rules violation, we call the COP. Okay, so complaints involving rules violation, those are lodged with the Department of Enforcement, and they are going to obtain a complaint from the Office of Disciplinary Affairs. Man, it just sounds like there has been a rules violation, doesn't it? What happens is that then is transmitted to the offending party, to the registered rep, or to the member firm, if appropriate, the principals of the member firm, and then it's taken before the Office of Hearing Officers. The Office of Hearing Officers is a 3-person panel taken from the industry, and they will decide whether or not there's actually been a rules violation, and if so, then what action should be taken. And remember that disciplinary action does not include jail time. It's a self-regulatory authority. It's not a court. Courts have to impose criminal penalties. All right, so the respondent then, and that's what we call the person who the complaint has gone to. You issue the complaint, and then the person who's been accused of the violation responds. Therefore, they're called a respondent, and they can make an offer of settlement, which would include then acceptance, waiver, and consent. Okay? We accept the accusation. We don't admit or deny guilt or innocence, whatever. We just accept that. We accept we waive the right to appeal, and we consent to the disciplinary action that's assessed to us. And meet that, and it's a done deal. Okay? Of course, it goes on your record. If we want to appeal, we have to appeal to the National Adjudicatory Council. Now, sometimes this shows up on a question, so I want to mispronounce that middle word, okay? I want to call it the National Adjudicatory Council. The reason I want to do that is that if you appeal some type of decision, you're going to appeal it to the judge, right? So you go to the National Adjudicatory Council, and that's where you send your appeal to. And then further appeals would go all the way to the SEC. Now remember, it's not the court system, so it's a disciplinary action, not the court system, so it doesn't go to courts. It goes to the SEC though. Now, you've got a point for minor rules violation. The facts are not in question. There's been a violation, but it's a little technical violation. Like for instance, you know those manila folders you get down at Staples? Okay, you have one of them, and what you do is you put your advertising and your sales literature in that one manila folder. That's a rules violation. So the auditor comes in, they say, Dan, You've got one manila folder. You've got your advertising and your sales literature in it. You need two manila folders, one for advertising, one for sales literature. Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's see. And so I write myself a sticky note. But the sticky note, deficiency noted, okay, the sticky note falls off my computer monitor and goes behind my desk, and then pretty soon it gets swept up, and I forget all about it. Next year they come in to do an audit. They say, Dan, we told you you needed to get the two manila file folders, right? Oh, crud, I forgot all about that. Here, let me see. Bam! We're going to slap your hand, okay? We're going to give you a maximum $2,500 fine. We're going to give you a censure. Shame on you. You ought to know better than this. Okay? But that's basically it. Okay? And it's over. It's a done deal. Because they're, like I said, they're minor technical violations. Okay, and wrapping her up, the Code of Arbitration. Like I say, arbitration is what we use to arbitrarily decide who gets what in an argument that includes money. Okay, so it's disputes within the industry go to arbitration. I didn't put periods at the end of my lines, but you know what? If I had, it would be very appropriate there. Because member to member, okay, associated person to member, member to associated person, it's going to go to arbitration. The only exception to that is issues of fair employment, okay, EEOC issues. Because why? Because Congress trumps the SROs. So those can go to court, straight to court. The others are going to go to arbitration if it's inside the industry. Disputes with the public can go to arbitration. Won't always, but they can. There has to be a pre-dispute arbitration agreement on file. Now, what happens is this is built into the stack of stuff that the customer gets when they open up the account. Okay? But it has to be dated prior to the dispute breaking out. If you get into an argument with someone and they say, you owe me some money, and you say, well, here, let's sign this arbitration agreement. No, it's a little too late then, okay? It has to predate the breaking out of the argument. If the customer does not have one of those, but then they say, you know, I really don't want to hassle with court, I'd really rather go to arbitration, then at the insistence of the customer, you can go to arbitration. But the industry, the member or the associated person, cannot. The customer and or the member can be represented by an attorney. Decisions are final, binding. Like I say, it's arbitrarily decided, and that's it. There's no appeal on it. And it's preferred due to the lower cost. That's a question that comes up sometimes. There are lots of other advantages. It's quicker, it's easier, it's cleaner, it's cheaper, there's less publicity, but the cheaper part, that's why it's preferred. Now, the last page, okay, last lines. Simplified arbitration and simplified industry arbitration. Suffice it to say that there are quicker procedures when we have smaller dollar amounts, less than $50,000. Now, take a guess as to which of those would involve the public and which of those would involve industry members only. Yeah, the simplified industry arbitration is going to be member to member, member to associated person, or vice versa, inside the family, inside the industry. But simplified arbitration is dealing with the public. And so that brings us to the end of the outline. I tell you what, I want to encourage you to let us know how you do. Like I say, we do this because we want to participate in your success. We want to be your partner. All right, so let us know how you do. Tell this to others. Let other people know. Visit our sponsors, okay? It's very important. And give us some feedback. I'll never get tired of feedback from the folks who watch our videos. So we really want to thank you, and again, wish you very, very well and good success.